All right, welcome back. This is Frank Tamora again. This is going to be part 4, and we're going to tie in Iran here because Iran is going to play a major role in the Ezekiel war. And obviously, Iran is playing a part of the Somme war because Iran has a lot of influence, and their influence has been carried over into the countries, as I stated, like Syria, Lebanon, and the Palestinians who are in the West Bank and the Gaza. And we know that Iran is not mentioned in the Psalm 83 war, but they're definitely a major player in the Ezekiel war. So for now, Iran's part will be to instigate this first war, which will be the Psalm 83 war. And then we do know that there will be an alliance, an Ezekiel war, and Russia will lead that alliance, and their allies with Russia obviously will be, because they're named, we don't have to guess about it in the Ezekiel prophecy, Iran is going to be one of those nations that hook up with Russia. Now let me give you some insight of what the article says, and then I'll tie it together for you. It says, if Tehran continues with its nuclear program, other nations should threaten it with military action. This is Israel talking. Benjamin Netanyahu has said, the sanctions imposed on Iran by the United Nations Security Council are not enough, the Israeli Prime Minister told CNN. He expressed concern that Iran may gain additional influence during the recent upheaval across the Middle East. Iran should know that if it fails to cooperate, there will be credible military actions, Netanyahu said. So, just to give you the backdrop of what's happened in the past, and we know what's going to happen in the future, the Israeli presidents warned Syria that they were going to bomb Syria's nuclear facility because Syria is trying to get nuclear weapons also, and Syria is an enemy of Israel, and Syria is mentioned in the Psalm 83. Now, Syria didn't take heed to what Israel said, and in 2007, Israel bombed that facility and wiped it out. Now, Israel also told Saddam Hussein in Iraq, when Iraq was making their quest to get nuclear arms to use against Israel, that, Israel told them, stop it or we're going to take care of it. They didn't listen. Israel went in and they destroyed that. Now, we know that Israel, President or the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned that unless they stop, that there was going to be military action. So please, when Israel says something, you better pay attention to it, because when it comes to their security, they don't mess around. If they know that no one else is going to help them, they'll make the move. Trust their past actions. When it comes to their security, they will make the move to stop this this terrorist state from getting a weapon of mass destruction that Ahmadinejad said that he would use. And he makes no qualms about saying that he wants to wipe Israel off the face of the world, or off the face of the map. So it goes on. He says he believes that it is only thing that could stop Tehran's nuclear program, and this would be the only thing that he's talking about, is a military attack against them. He believes it is the only thing. So the peace process isn't working. I mean, the talks, the Security Council's resolutions against Iran, they're not working. So the only real option, is what he's saying, is a military option, and that's what it really looks like it's going to boil down to. According to the Prime Minister, such actions from the international community would knock out Iran's nuclear facilities. If the strike is unavoidable and a decision is adopted, it would not be that difficult, and would be preferably led by Washington, he noted. So one of the reasons why I believe that he said there would be led by Washington is because if Israel went in alone right now, the world's view on Israel would just cave in like a landslide, because right now that the world media is portraying Israel almost as a terrorist state. But in fact, what they're doing, every time they're attacked, they they retaliate against the people who have been trying to do them harm. And then instead of the media picking up, say, well, Israel's attacked, they have a right to defend themselves, they don't do that. What they do is they say that Israel is attacking undefenseless people, and it's not the case, not the case at all. So, and I believe that Washington doesn't have the guts to actually go in and take care of Iran's nuclear power. And there's a lot of different reasons, which I'm going to share here in a few minutes. And it goes on to say this. And let me repeat this so you get the full measure of what I'm saying. Serious military action means that Iran's entire nuclear potential would be destroyed. In other words, if they're going to go in, they're going to destroy, do damage all over the place to make sure that that nuclear facility is not up and running. Otherwise, a nuclear Tehran will not threat only to Israel, but the United States and Europe as well, an Israeli leader argued. In his words, Tehran is approaching the stage when it will be able to create nuclear weapons. Iran has repeatedly said that its nuclear program is exclusively pursuing peaceful goals and no actions from other nations will stop it. So, you know what they're doing. I mean, they've been getting, just recently, as if you scroll down, you'll see that South Korea was sending nuclear material to help build these nuclear weapons for Iran, and they got intercepted. And there's reasons why they're doing this, because Ahmadinejad, again, if this is the first time at my YouTube, he thinks that he is the man who's going to be leading their Islamic savior to wipe out Israel. So, in one of the statements, I'm going to read you one of the statements by Ahmadinejad, the leader of Iran. And we know that they're not going to stop for the quest. So, looking down the road, we know that there's going to have to have some kind of military action to stop them. Otherwise, you're going to end up with another a genocide of the Jews again. If Ahmadinejad were to get this bomb, he would definitely use it. And Israel's prime minister knows that. He's mentioned it before. He's mentioned the fact about Hitler and what Ahmadinejad is doing. But listen to what Ahmadinejad said. And if you go to my website, you'll be able to click to the link and read it for yourself. Iran's President Hamad Ahmadinejad has stated that no United Nations Security Council resolutions can curb the Islamic Republic nuclear ambitions. Even if they issue 100,000 of such documents, we won't care. And Iran will keep developing its peaceful nuclear program, Ahmadinejad told Fars news agency on Tuesday. So, you know that he's going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until he brings some kind of chaos. This is what he said. This is what he believes. Ahmadinejad believes that the time will come when this hidden savior of theirs, this Islamic savior, who will come out during a time of chaos and recapture Jerusalem and wipe out Israel. So we see the road leading to the Psalm 83 war, the involvement of Iran arming all of the enemies of Israel, and we see that the Iranians are trying to get these nuclear weapons, and sooner or later they're going to have to be taken out. Now, let me add to this, because this is where it really gets interesting. Russia is going to lead that attack in Ezekiel chapter 38. Iran is going to be with them. We know Iran and Turkey, one of their other major allies, and there's other nations, but I'm going to focus on Iran here. So Putin, who is really the main guy in Russia, is very, very upset what's taking place in the current news. Let me read it and I'll connect it for you. It says, Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin on Monday lashed out at the steady trend of the U.S. military intervention around the world, accusing Washington of acting without consequence or logic. Putin condemns trend U.S. military invasion. That is the headline. Putin condemns the U.S. military intervention. It says, I am concerned about the ease in which the decision to use of force was taken, Russian news agency quoted Putin as saying in reference to the current international campaign in Libya. And this is where it really gets interesting, because Libya is another one of those countries in the Ezekiel chapter 38 war. It says, noting that the United States had already involved itself with the former Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, and Iraq, Putin added, now it's Libya's turn. And all this under the guise of protecting peaceful citizens. Where is the logic? Where is the consequence? There is neither one nor the other, Putin said. And Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin Monday slammed the UN resolution allowing military action on Libya as a medieval call to crusade, and hit out at Washington for its readiness to resort to force. In one of the most virulent diatribes against the West in years, Russia's de facto #1 said that there was no logic or consequence to the military action. The resolution by the Security Council, of course, is defective and flawed. The Russian news agency quoted Putin as telling workers on a visit to the missile factory, to me, it resembles some sort of medieval call to crusade when someone would appear to someone to go and to a certain place and free someone else. Putin's comments marked a sharp hardening of Moscow's rhetoric against the Western military action in Libya after Russia abstained from the UN resolution last week, referring to its use of veto, which would have been blocked the passage. Putin also said that the events in Libya showed the Russians have taken the right direction in strengthening their military capabilities in possible reference to a massive new $650 billion rearmament plan. Today's events in Libya prove that we are doing everything right in terms of strengthening Russia's military capabilities, he was quoted as saying. He also announced that Russia planned to double the production of strategic and tactical missile systems from 2013. Now, what is so important about this? Libya, just a year and a half ago, was invited down by the Russians. Russia paid off all the debt, Libyan debt. Completely paid it off. All this information is in my book, by the way. And so, as a result, the Russians were able to deploy part of their Russian fleet, their navy, in Libya. Libya has very, very close military agreements with the Russians, and so does Iran have these close agreements with Russia. As a matter of fact, the Russians stated, and you'll see this in my book, that anybody who attacks Iran is the same thing as attacking Russia. So you have the United States now starting to bomb Libya. And you have all of these nations, the same nations mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 38. Now, I believe what will happen is there's a good possibility. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with Libya. Will Omar Gaddafi be ousted? We don't know. But we do know whoever takes over, if he isn't ousted, that new leader, we know that the nation is going to turn over and they are going to come down with the Russians. We know this because that's exactly what the Lord tells us. Now, as far as Iran goes, if Israel were to go in and bomb Iran to stop the nuclear program, this would tick off Russia, and it under the guidelines of the agreement. And what the Russians leaders said, that if they attacked Iran, that they would be attacked. And if that happened, for sure, that would kick off Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, where the Russians would lead it, the Iranians would come, obviously the Turkish nation would come, because now they're all allies. And in my book, I give you all the agreements so that you can see that Ezekiel's prophecy is coming to play, and I don't believe that it's going to be that far off, but we need to see the Psalm 83 war first.